Alright everybody, I thought I'd do a quick review of this garage that I'm always talking about during my walking aloud sessions. So this garage is a detached garage. It came with my property, and it's an interesting beast, and it's a constant work in progress. I think total size is about 800 square feet. So let's get started. Maverick, come on buddy, come on. I use this for a lot of different things. Storing stuff. I had this in the back here built into a dog run for Maverick as well too when I can't be home with him. So here's the interior of this garage, which I'm trying to resurrect from the dead basically. I'm not trying to restore it because I'm actually probably better off just ripping the whole thing down and putting a new one in, to be honest. But it's interesting. This is an interesting garage, and I'll show you a couple of the reasons why. Well, first of all, the house itself was built in 1946 or 45, I believe. This garage, you can see that this was put in 1968 by J.W., who I guess was either the first or second owner of this property. And I gotta say, you know what? Actually, this concrete slab here, holding up relatively intact since 68, is pretty good overall. And it's your typical, garage of that era. You have actual wood walls. You don't have like the T111 or the composite that you have today. And it has a traditional garage door, which of course has been rebuilt over the years. It has a well, actually it's funny it works, but you can see what happened is these gears here are all fried up for this garage door opener, though it actually does work, which is over here. If we went ahead and push this button, it was, there it goes. You can see it does actually work, but if we take a better look, I don't know if we can see here. Yeah, you can see, if you look carefully, you can see how this is spinning. This is supposed to turn this, but it's all worn out and seized up. I do have a replacement, which is over in the corner there, which we are going to eventually install into here and replace this old Craftsman. So that's yet another phase of this puzzle. Of course, you see here's my motorcycles. There's my TW200, my Rebel 500. That is Pepper's scooter. It's a 2006 Metropolitan. That's a 2019, and that's a 1998. Here's our two e-bikes here that we take out from time to time. These are pretty awesome. We have a John Deere D100 tractor, which I've had forever now, with a little Blue Hawk trailer on the back for that. So getting back to the garage itself. So this slab was poured first, and it was poured pretty well. I think it was actually really well built for the day. You can see it's your traditional stick and frame house. You have your walls here. This, I believe, well, this right here is actually the original roof beam. You can see it links up into here, and it comes back down. This is the original roof. Once again, it's a tongue and groove roof, and then it would come down and it dropped right here as far as the edge. So they were happy with this as a single car garage, or just maybe even a shed or something to store their stuff in. There was a back wall here. Then either the first owner or the second owner decided they also wanted a workshop. And so what they did is they extended off of this roof. Let's go back and you can see this. They extended back off of the original roof and extended this out into this workshop here. I'm not sure this door it's definitely not an original door, because this door is probably only about 20 years old maybe. But this is the workshop that they built, and of course I guess he would do all his stuff over here. And you can see here's the original walls, once again stick and frame. You can't see it too much here, but he actually has old cabinets back here, which if these, well, actually, you know, you probably almost open this one up. But if you open these up, you can see this is where he would store lots of different stuff, whoever used this workshop. And interestingly enough, what he also had to keep this warm, I believe in the winter, was he had a wood stove that would shoot through here, which he would use. Because this house, it currently uses a summer fire hookup with an oil burner. Eventually had a high velocity air system added in, but before all that, and before the baseboards, this house was basically run on a series of wood stoves for its primary heating. You can see there's a chimney there, there's a chimney over there, and a chimney over here. And that kept the house warm. So I guess they did the same thing for the workshop over here. Is they most likely went through and they added a wood stove that would tap into here to keep the workshop and the garage warm while he's working out here. The original owner, or the second owner, I think there's been, I'm the fourth owner of this property. He was a carpenter. I can definitely tell because like the whole interior is custom woodwork as far as shelving and drawers and everything. And it's actually really good quality. So he probably did a lot of his work out here. Here comes Pepper in the background. Come here, Mav. And we get back to here, and this is where it all started going down south. What happened is I'm gonna guess the third owner decided he had a boat and he wanted a carport. So what he did is he extended, first thing he did, if you can see here, is he extended the roof line here all the way over to there to add a carport. And then of course he attached this roof up to here and he added a second roof up top over here, replacing the tongue and groove, which is there and there, replacing that with your traditional plywood decking. So he did that. I think that was probably around 2000, probably about 20 years ago now. And rather than paving the back, they just put stone back here. And they put the walls on top of the stone. Now, as you can imagine, this is that, you can see here, this is a slope property. It's a slight slope that comes down here, and the water hits this back edge. Over time, it rotted out the bottom, and it started slowly sinking down to the point where it was causing structural issues in the back here. So this was sunk down about this much into the dirt. There was a door here that would not open. There was a door over here. This wall I had to completely replace. This thing was completely destroyed. Because it was sinking down, it was also degrading the roof line, which was causing leaks and literally holes in the roof over here. So that is the big focus of this project, is getting this further back up. So what I'll go through what I've done so far in a minute. A couple other things I want to show you too is back here. Let's go to the carport. On the carport, you can see it now. Well, it's covered up in a bunch of lumber and stuff that I'm pulling out. There was a 100-year-old maple tree here, and literally growing right against this carport. And over time, it was actually pushing it a little bit, and then it was actually eating into the side here. If you can imagine, the tree was actually coming into here and putting pressure against this as well too. So what eventually that tree, as you saw in a video I think I put out last year, was it? We went through and we had that removed. But the other issue this caused, as you see in the asphalt here, is you can see the roots actually kick into here. And what they're doing, let's turn the lights on. And this is actually good things to learn if you ever think about building your own garage or shed, like kind of things to look out for, you know, which you may not think about, tree location and everything else, is the root system started kicking into here, disrupting the poured concrete underneath. So that was a design flaw. Also on top of that, as this back started sinking in this corner over here, because there's also no gutter protection or runoff protection. Whenever this water comes down, it goes straight down and then bounces right back into the wall, which over time has been degrading it. So this all started sinking down. So the first part of this was to basically shore up, well, the first part was shoring up the foundation. So what I had to do was I got some 2x8s, 12 and 16 foot, and I kicked them through this whole back wall. And I thought about just replacing the entire wall. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of reuse what I could, and also just, you know, I don't want to do this on the cheap, but I did want to do this on the cheap. So I went ahead and I lifted this up and raised it up, and this also lifted the whole roof line back up to where it was supposed to be, which is about 78 inches is what the original height of this was, which is low, but it was originally, gosh, down to here. I mean, it was below, it was right around maybe 60 some inches or so. So I raised that back up. I added a bottom wall underneath it, because if you're ever going to raise a wall, what you would traditionally do to raise the wall is you would lift up the roof line here, and you would add a second small wall on top of that, attach them, and I eventually have to add straps back and forth to help stabilize that. But between that, obviously the outer siding connecting to it, that's going to keep that stable. So that's where we are at now. So I raised that up. I was debating, do I pour the foundation or do I go ahead and build a traditional masonry foundation for the outside? I decided to do the masonry first, and I'm eventually going to dig this up some and actually just pour inside like you would a floating slab inside here for this. I just wanted to stabilize this first before I went anywhere else. So that is kind of that next step. Then we started building, of course, out this wall. I decided I want to put a 60-inch wide double door that's going to open up so I can take out the John Deere and other things out this side here. This amount of dirt is just when I dug out the foundation here manually. And this is all done by hand. I didn't use any other than my power tools. We had to replace this timber here, and we're still in the process of replacing this part of the roof. But what I did do back here temporarily to help fix up and shore up the leaks was I took up a lot of the old shingles here. This is just a traditional 3-tab shingle. I went up on the roof. I took a good portion of the bad shingles. Well, not bad, but actually the shingles are not in, they're still usable. You can see they're not really curling yet, so there's still a little bit of life in them, and they're still waterproof. But the decking itself was damaged. So I had to go ahead and remove the shingles temporarily, redo some of the decking, and then replace the bad shingles, and I reused the temporary shingles. And the reason you should never do this except if one of two reasons. Number one, you're going to do an overlay, which I'm not going to do on this. The second reason, if you're going to replace that anyway, which is what I'm going to do. So sometime this fall, it's summer now, you don't want to do the roof now. This will hold it over. I'm just going to take off the whole roof, and I'm just going to re-shingle it, probably to match the roof that I had put on about 2 years ago, which is an architectural shingle, just to match it up. Now back here, you can see this is where we added the second wall, and this is a dog run I built for Maverick, which I had to take apart some. I'm going to put it back together, which is where he hangs out when I'm away. And we're just going to go ahead and extend this back out. I just painted this. I'm going to put the trim pieces out. I thought about putting T111 here. I'm not going to get all too fancy on this garage, because even if I made this garage perfect again, it's still, like, you know, it's still a makeshift 3 different garages in one, right? So we're going to add the door in here. I had to replace all the eaves in here because there's no gutter system and there's no drip edge at all too. It actually ate away the eaves, so I replaced the eaves here. Had to shore this up as best I could. Refix this up. We're going to add the underlay here as well too. And we kind of did something similar over here. And on the other side, you can actually kind of see, now this is actually was relatively unaffected. Oh, in case you're wondering too, I'm in the process of replacing this with a split rail fence, which is why these poles are up right now. Always projects here at the homestead. Now this is actually this is what it looked like when it was well, believe it or not. So this was actually sinking in some, but you can see all the rot that happened here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to either cut this, or I'm just going to re-jam it. I may actually just remove these, expose the plywood, cut the plywood, and resheath the lower plywood and then put another whatever, you know, I forget the name of this is, the frame is. Now underneath here though, you can see that these are not in, and it's funny, some of these are actually not in terrible shape, but some of these definitely need to be replaced. Like this is kind of on the way out. I could actually maybe reuse that, but once you get up further, it's kind of getting rotted out. And also they took the cheap end, I guess, when they did this, is they actually added a 2x4 here and then added the front fascia on top of that without extending the eaves board over top of that, which really just let the water soak. And they didn't add a drip edge either as well to a drip guard, which really shouldn't have done. But you know, we weren't dealing with architects when building this house. And you can even see it's strange, they put it, this is the original drip edge here, they didn't put it on this side, they just put it on this brand new area. Now this they redid, I think they redid this mostly just to sell it actually, to make it look nicer. But so that's where I am with this project. What I'm doing now is gonna repaint this. I'm gonna add trim pieces in between all the grooves of the plywood to help shore it up and also make it look a little bit nicer. I'm gonna add a double wide door that's 60 inches wide. I think it's 78 inches high or pretty close to it. I'm gonna add a door over there. And then after that, we're gonna, now you can see I stopped here. This decking, all of this is gonna have to get replaced because this is all just trash at this point. There is some leaks forming out of here. And this is actually exactly what we're looking at inside the garage area, which I had to replace as well. This timber, this one's shot, we're going to have to replace this one. So at this point, only this guy and this guy are holding it up. I had to do a temporary fix for this guy just to give me something to re-put the fascia on, because actually the fascia on the back of here, once again, they actually put a drip guard on here, but the tree just destroyed it over time, as I had to already replace the fascia boards over here too. So anyway, so that's this is the garage I'm always talking about. There you go. So fun. Now there's actually a lot of lessons learned here. Like when if you're ever gonna build your own garage, and you know, it's one thing to talk about all the mistakes, but the question is, how can you learn from it? Number one, when you're building a shed or garage, you need to take into account the incline of your property. If you're sloping down, consider that the wood or the water is going to come in and eat into the back here. And over time, that's going to sink whatever you put on top of it. Even if you put this on top of stone, over time, the stone is going to sink and the foundation is going to sink into it. So you really need something more secure. And you need to go preferably below the frost line if you can, but at least go down more to give yourself something more stable. I think they only put like probably a couple inches of stone down, which isn't enough. And in fact, actually, if you ever look at sheds, a lot of people will just put down stone or gravel. They'll put their shed on top, and then 10, 20 years later, they find they have to lift the shed back up and reposition it because it started sinking down. Next thing, the importance of rain gutters. If you do not have rain gutters, what will happen is this water will come down and it'll splash back. And as the water hits this over time, it'll just eat away your foundation. So that's why rain gutters are so important, pretty much on anything. So keep that in mind. So anytime you have a runoff like that, you need to have some type of water protection. And there's two ways to do it, obviously. You can use a rain gutter. I've also seen systems too where it like literally will propel the water further out. So that's another option as well. But you need to have some type of protection for your walls. Other things, you know, I don't think extending the workshop out like this was that bad. Extending on an extension, it's a little questionable. And the problem by doing that, I mean, you kind of get the workshop aspect, right? You added a really functional area, but when you decided to keep this wall and build on top of the traditional wall, you've basically lost all this space. Yeah, sure, you can use this for storage, throwing stuff up here, but you lost all that room up top as well too, when you were probably better off at this point. If you're really going to do that, you're probably just better off just either extending further out over there, which I guess they couldn't because they realized that this line was too low to fit something underneath, right? Because you can see, well, they originally had a drip guard here. You see this is the original siding. This is the original drip guard. This is the original roof. This would not have been high enough to extend off, which I guess is why they did that. But you know, sometimes because you think you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. But oh, and in case you're wondering what this is as I was on the roof, I thought I had this secured, just replacing that beam. I didn't notice back here until I opened it up how bad this beam was, so I'm going to have to replace this as well too. So this temporarily is just adding support, just so I could get that roof done before it started raining. And you know, I replaced some of the decking. I probably should have replaced some more pieces up there. Obviously, like this piece, I will probably have to go back and replace again, but this is enough to just kind of get me through at this point. So until we can do it right. So anyway, this is the garage project that keeps me busy. You can also see all my little toys, which I still have to review. I'm going to do a review on this and this. This guy is still a work in progress. This Honda Rebel, oh, I just love this thing. This was my first motorcycle that I picked up brand new. This Honda scooter, I've had actually a couple of these now, and these are fun little guys. They only go about 40 miles an hour. This thing was completely destroyed and beat up, and I rebuilt this from scratch. This is also a restoration project. This guy, actually, if we can get her to go, will start up as an aftermarket exhaust. So, ooh, this thing is loud. We can get her. Let's see. I might have to go to, you know what? Let's go ahead and start her up. Get her in neutral. Oh, strange. It can't get it. There we go. So the good news is it does start. It just needs some work, basically. I think basically the carb needs to be cleaned out or possibly replaced, which is common in these things once you get to a certain age. I mean, the engine in these guys are basically bulletproof. It's got about 12,000 miles on it, which is actually relatively low for a TW. But you can see they added the aftermarket DG exhaust, which is why it sounds like a Mustang GT or something like that, or even louder. Actually, I don't like the loud sound. I'll probably replace it actually back with the factory one. I prefer a quieter bike. So, but anyway, hope you enjoyed this quick tour of my garage project, which I'm always working on. If you do, please click like and subscribe for future content. It really does help out the channel. We do hope to see you in future videos. And until then, get out there, make your own adventures. And as always, take care.